Welcome to yet another edition of our talk show, Conversations with LJ. Golezwa Mahomosha, happy 2026, happy new year. We pray to God that this year becomes much, much better than 2026. We pray to God that we get jobs. We pray to God that the economy recovers. We pray to God that Botswana becomes a better place to live in. We pray for peace. We pray for harmony. And most of all, we pray to God that Conversations with LJ grows and becomes successful. There's something very interesting with my guest today. She was our inaugural guest, and she's also our first guest in 2026. You can always guess that I'm talking about none other than Honorable Dr. Unity Dow. My friends have actually questioned me, welcome to Conversations with LJ Madi.
Thank you very much.
And Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
I think you are a blessing to us. As I said, you are my inaugural guest. It's 2026, you are my first guest.
It's an honor.
It's an honor.
It's an honor. And a privilege.
I
don't know, no one threaten.
That's very true. Actually, our parents were friends.
Yes.
They were in politics together, they were friends. So I was threatening her because once I was but Memadi, thank you very much for taking this opportunity to come and talk to us again.
Thank you very much for inviting me again. I'm really honored.
It's actually our viewers who actually called for this. They said Madi's life cannot be captured in 38 minutes. We need her to come and talk more. And before we continue, let me give you feedback.
All right.
People see you out there as one of the greatest people to ever live on this earth. They appreciate the work that you've done, especially the cases that you mentioned, the Metlhaitsile issues, the Kanya citizenship. And there's one specific feedback that I want to give you. A young lady texted me, your number. She told me, or she watched my interview with me. With you. And she told me that, Mr. Larajang, I belong to a different political movement with Madi. I'm a fierce opposer of her. I actually wish she was in our political party. I won't mention her party.
Yeah.
But she was saying she wishes you were part of them. But she said, as much as I differ with Madi, I'm really humble. Please pass my gratitude to her. She told me, my mother is a Motswana. My father is a Tanzanian, and I'm a Motswana. And from the interview with Madawa, I got to realize what I'm a Motswana because of Madawa. So despite our political differences, tell her that I shall forever be thankful to her for that.
Well, whoever she is, thank you very much for that compliment, and thank you very much for acknowledging that. And in life, we help each other.
That's very
some
true.
helps or assistance seems big, some are small, but at the end of the day, let me just, in fact, chip in, because that my comment in response triggers something my own mother taught me a long time ago. It's something I've mentioned in the past. That if you've heard this, I'm sorry that I'm repeating it.
Yes.
My mother used to say, I may have said in the last podcast. Yes. If I did, I'm so sorry that I'm repeating it.
No problem.
Because I think for me it rings true. If, for example, if somebody loans you an iron, okay, and another loans you a needle, those loans are the same, or those contributions are the same. An iron may be bigger, more expensive, has got more metal. A needle may be smaller, less expensive because of the amount of metal it is. But at the end of the day, so the help is the same. It's not what you bring to the table, is a consequence of what you bring to the table that really matters. So I just wanted to share that.
That is wisdom.
Yeah, that's what my mother was wise.
Well,
actually.
indeed.
Your mother was wise, I know her.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Yes, remember at Conversations with LJ, we talk to people who've been through a lot in life, who've been through challenges, but they never allowed those challenges to stop them. And through you, our guests, our followers, you asked me to not just focus on that, to also talk to what we call unsung heroes. And it looks like that is where we are drifting towards. But anyway, back to Madi. In our previous interview, Madawa, especially your cases.
Okay.
the landmark cases, tseo tsa bo metlhaetsile tse no dulela tsa child maintenance, tsa child support, the citizenship issues tse re buileng ka tsona. So to kickstart our interview today, I want us to look at some of the things that you mentioned. Madao, the farmer, Madao, the judge, Madao, the politician. But before we get to this, let's talk to Madi, the mother, a mother. You are a mother, you are a wife. In all these things, tsa bo metlhaetsile, tsa ditshwanelo tsa setho, tsa go lema, tsa go rua, tsa go nna judge, tsa go nna le politiki. What is being a mother? What does being a mother mean to you? And who are your children? I happen to know Tumisan, Cheshe,
And Salim, Natasha.
Natasha. Yeah. Just tell me about Unity, the mother.
All right, my kids are going to kill me. That why are you bringing us into your, public space?
They're very opinionated like you, actually.
Yes, I have very good children.
Yes.
I mean, I think every mother says that.
Yes.
It doesn't mean that they're perfect. It means just that they are good.
Yes.
And the mother, Unity, the mother. I am very close to my children. I probably talk to my daughter 3 times a day, the oldest daughter, because I got ngwana ntlha ke molekana ga mma
Molekana ga mmaagwe, indeed.
ka Setswana ga twa ngwana ntlha ke molekana ga mma so ke molekana ga me tota we literally if she doesn't hear from me in 3 hours o tla ba botsa gore what's wrong so we speak all the time. My son is a more quieter person, but also he's a lawyer like myself, and if he's got any big case, there's absolutely no way he's filing those documents before running them through me. And then I respect his views very, very much. I probably talk to him every day. Certainly, I ask him a legal question every other day. So it doesn't matter what it is. If I'm unsure about something, I say, I think the Constitution says this. Am I correct with this interpretation? And he loves, to respond to that. My youngest one lives in the U.S. now. She was here actually just before COVID. She and her husband moved to Botswana in 2019. 2020 COVID hit. The economy, really destroyed our business. And finally, 2023, they had to go back to the U.S. Not because they want to go back there. I don't think there's any Botswana out there who wants to live out there. Very, very few. Botswana returners.
True.
So she had to go back to the U.S. more because of the economy than because of anything else. So they were here for Christmas. We had a lovely, lovely, lovely 5 days together in one house. I've got 7 grandchildren.
7 grandchildren.
Yeah.
Ungugu.
Yeah, 7 times over.
That's great.
And I love my grandchildren. Yesterday, actually, today is what, Tuesday? So today is Tuesday. On Sunday, I took my 9-year-old boy, grandson, and my 4-year-old. Because I read it's important for young people to have good memories about the earth,
Yes.
about plants, about animals. They may never be farmers, but they must have positive, attitude towards other living things.
Yes.
And they must also know that the earth is important, the ground is important.
Yes.
Actually, that's Tumisan's statement a long time ago. You may ask for an extension of land from the land board, but you can ask for an extension of the earth from God.
That's very true.
So how that's for me is how I ground my children.
Yes. I remember talking about your children. When we were growing, I was actually very close to Cheshe.
Yes.
It's just that Angero Kopana, but I can confidently say we are friends.
Yes.
When we meet,
Yes.
I remember the Sahametsi Mohomuti strike. Nerle Moho, Unai Pergo something. I remember she actually stood up and spoke. I'm actually fully prepared for war.
I remember that.
I remember
that because...
Did you raise her to be like that? Or?
No, I mean, that for me was a shocker because she was 14 years old at the time.
Yes.
She was the same age as Sahamit's.
Yes.
So remember Muchudi had erupted because of this, the riots, the protests around the Sahamit's issue. And it was a big crowd. I was in the back of the crowd. And suddenly I hear this voice that sounds like myself. And I'm thinking, somebody speaking sounds like me. And I remember the whole village that I had put her up to. I did not know she was going to speak. And I believe that's really also what influenced her to actually study law.
Yes.
Is that particular experience. I remember her saying, you know, I think that sometimes about you failed to protect me in my village.
I remember that. And I'm fully prepared for war.
Yes.
And talking about Church again, okay, she's not going to blame you. It's me now. She can tell it's me. Bring her into this. She's a very fierce woman. She's just like you. She's a replica of you. How easy or how difficult is it to be Church's mother? And being unity, that is also fierce and principled.
No, I think we get on very well. The only thing that she annoys me with is she speaks too fast. I tell her, if you really want to talk to me, can you slow down, please? Because sometimes I give me...
It's like telling me what we are about him. There's nothing you can do about it.
So, I mean, but I think she speaks even faster. So,
Yes.
But otherwise, no, it's... there's respect, you know. I don't want to suggest that I have perfect children. Nobody's got perfect children, you know. But I really think that the important thing about, you know, mother and children or father and children is respect. Is knowing boundaries.
Yes.
You know, is knowing, you know, knowing boundaries.
Yes.
I've never had to hit my kids. I don't have to say anything.
Yes.
You see, so you have to learn to communicate without necessarily.
And still talking about being a mother, you are a lawyer. Your first-born Church is a lawyer. Second-born Dumisa is a lawyer. I know
Natasha is not here.
I know nothing about Natasha, just except for being Natasha. How is it like being a mother to two lawyers, also being a lawyer? How is the conversation like? Or is everything legal?
No. It's not like that. Actually, interestingly, we have two family groups. Okay, with my children.
Yes.
The one is called My Children. There we can only post family things. We can only talk about family things. We cannot talk politics on that at all. And then we have another one, which I won't say what it's called, but that's where now we actually discuss politics. That's where we post things about what's happening in the country, you know, what's happening in the countries, international issues. But the two should not meet. But the same members are the same. You know, the same people are in the same
Yes.
group. So, but we have to, if you have our children's family pictures, you know, is on the My Children group, you know, and we try at least every single day to dig up an old picture and post it there. So maybe today I can post a picture when Timisa was 2 years old, full of mud, or as a rally. So really, so that's how we keep ourselves connected, not just about today, but every other day we dig up a picture from the past and post it there, like a funny picture of the past.
Okay.
Yeah.
You are a mother, a prominent person in the society. You have children. How do you raise your children to remember that they are children like any other children? Hasibana about this famous lawyer, Hasibana about this judge. How do you manage to do that?
I mean, first of all, my kids grew up Komuchudi Korasirura. You know, and when we first moved there, Tumisang, actually, Tumisang was less than a year old when we moved there. And there was no power in Rasura at that time. We spent the first 2 years in that household. It was before electricity came to Rasura, so we used candles, we used, you know, like everybody else. So they actually, and then even after, even after water, you know, there was running water and everything, the neighborhood was still fairly poor. So I was the only lawyer in the neighborhood. Maybe there was a nurse, maybe 2 houses away, maybe another teacher. But the neighborhood was a rural,
Yes.
you know, household. So and you know that,
Yeah,
and that's where they grew up.
Yes.
So obviously, if you grew up like that and you forget it tomorrow, then I don't know about your memory. You have to remember where you came from. So they come from Muchudi. They come from the village of Muchudi. That's where they were raised. But Samikile, you know, in that neighborhood, you know. In fact, interestingly, yesterday I was at Toys R Us. Okay. I was looking for a bouncing ball, a tennis ball, a regular tennis ball.
Yes.
Because I couldn't find it anywhere. They didn't have it. They didn't have it like a bouncing one. They asked me, what do you need? And I said, look, but since there's certain skills that you are losing because of the games you are playing.
Yes.
If you are watching television all the day, if you are only pedaling bicycles because, you know, your mother bought you a bicycle, or, you know, but there are other things, motor skills that you lose, that you don't have,
Yes.
you know, but that you need.
Yes.
For
For the benefit of some of the viewers of
Basaizi. So I was concerned there's certain games that they don't know. Because, and for me, And why is it important? It's to connect them to our own mother who played those games and to their own grandmother. So at the end of the day, you are who you are because of the line you come from.
How do you strike a balance between being this human rights activist, every day a woman knocks, an abused woman knocks, you go to court osaka kanye citizenship, you are just a busy bee, you end up being a judge, you end up being a politician. How do you strike a balance between being a mother and ensuring that you raise your children properly and serving the community?
Sometimes I wonder whether secretly God gave me more time than other people. You know, like maybe I have a special time span. Maybe I don't have 24 hours. Maybe I've got 36. I don't know. Sometimes I look back at my life, honestly, and I say, well, I don't know how I did these things. You know, but it's also about really, I guess, constantly not separating your life. I mean, not, you know, putting your life in segments. You know, so in the morning, you are a mother, you have breakfast with your children, they go to school, you go to work, you come back. So, and on weekends, you go camping, you go farming, you do farming. You know, I was farming long before it became popular.
We'll get to that.
Yeah,
yes.
so, I mean.
Do you ever get angry?
Yes.
You're always laughing, you're always smiling. Yes, you speak your mind out, but do you ever get angry?
Yes. I don't know if I get angry in the same way that I get annoyed. Like everybody gets annoyed.
Okay.
And when I'm annoyed, you will not be very happy with me.
I just pray that I don't get to experience
but
that.
I don't hold grudges. I don't forget. I don't remember. You know, sometimes I honestly, you know, I walk into a store and someone who did something really terribly bad. I've completely forgotten who this person is. And then I only realized later the reason why that person was a bit nervous in saying hello to me is that nasty person who did 1, 2, 3, 4 to me. So I don't go to bed wishing people bad things.
Oh yes.
You know, yeah.
Okay. You mentioned that you long went into farming before you became this unity DAO that you know. I try my best to say DAO. Like I said, DAO. I try my best. Yes. Tell me about your farming, Unity DAO, the farmer. Where do you get this time? What is it that brought you into farming, and what kind of farming are you into?
Okay, let's start with what brought me into farming.
Yes.
Okay. Even when I was a young lawyer, when Natasha, I think, even was maybe 3 years old or 2 years old, I was farming the Piring next to Rasesa.
Yes.
It was my grandmother's team, so which is now part of the A1 goes through it, and I just enjoyed it. It was simple farming there, nearly just just for, you know, the kind of thing, because it was not far away from where I was. But you know, the kids loved it. They loved working when they're walking in the field. They like picking their own food. So I just loved it. And maybe because I loved my grandmother, and it was and you know, I had this dream that she's going to give it to me one day. So that was really that. And also my father, my father was one of what is called agricultural demonstrators.
Yes.
You remember? Yes. So we grew up knowing what, you know, that's what was feeding us, even though he was working for the government, but he was a farmer for the government. And my mom, you know, was a traditional woman, was farming. So we just grew up with farming. When I was a judge, my mother and my parents would farm. You know, so the first, before I hear about Torbatagole, so for me, I grew up not believing there's any job that's beneath me. You know, I don't sweep my own floor, not because it's beneath me, but because it's not a good use of my time. I don't look down on Dutirose.
Yes, I'm going to get to that part, but I want to go back to this one. You mentioned already your father in Elimulimis, now with the agricultural demonstrators. That thing reminds me of Hakeola, I still remember Bose Bohodi, Borichete, Bokono, Balimis. balemisi ba eleng gore ga o gola ne khona re le mo lapeng go mo kgorong a ba tla ra letse tshimo a tla le bolela ke ne ke tsene mo tshimong ke bone sele and you don't see that nowadays. Why do you think things have changed? Ga re itse balemisi ba rona ga re ba bone unlike ga re gola nna le wena ne re itse re molemisi wa tla sa bitswa o lekola masimo a go bolela dijalo di jwa ke se ke ne ke le mo tshimong ke bone se. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know. My father says, for example, when he was Mulimisi during his time, he was being Mulimisi all over, but Mulimisi gape finally. And he was saying, how after the first tilling of the land, there was a competition of all farmers. So he'd give them, like certificates. Was the best Mulime before Gojwa. And then they will plant, they will disc harrow and then plant. And then they would also have basically the best germination. So people were proud of their work, and he was proud. They were proud of their work.
As Mulimisi was proud of Batobaba Okametsi.
Exactly.
Yes.
And I think what really happened also is that first generation of farmers wanted their children to get out of farming. So you were a successful farmer, but you actually worked hard. And the dealer, raising cattle, so that your kids can go to school, so they can be lawyers. The kids can go to school, so they can be teachers. You understand? So there wasn't a pride in that profession. So we need to bring it back.
Yes.
Yes. So there was a whole generation. I want my kids to study. I want to work hard on the land so that my kids can study, so they can go to do an office job.
Yes.
So now we're beginning. We missed a step here. It should have been, I want my children to, maybe some of them want to come farming, that's great. Maybe some of them want to be a mechanic, that's great. Maybe somebody wants to be,
yes.
So, but we were focusing on office work. And that's why, that's part of the reason why our economy is where it is.
Yes.
Because if all those kids who were the children of all these very successful farmers had been trained to go back,
yes,
we would be feeding the country ourselves.
Yeah, and I'll share a very quick story. The same concern, same applies to Boralo Palo veterinarians, Bakopuso. We don't know what's going on. You remember in the previous administration, when I was working for Ramasis, it so happened to be Reloko Motse Mume. So the put is in salad, the Mosaki, I can road on it, a poco teleba. Korane di Choreketala, Keradiwa Cantele, Renale Boralo Palo veterinarians. They didn't know what to do. And one bit, it was President Masisi who said, and he put it in
sugar.
And he was not happy with that, saying, you don't get to experience these things. Let's get back there. You mentioned Ojaji wa Masimo Matlaola. One asks themselves, how does a judge get dirty? How does a judge what is it that is happening Karona Malatinya? We seem to be not so much interested in farming, and yet it seems to be the future. What motivated you? And I
think it was my mom. You see, my mom and my dad. But my mom was they passed away during COVID 2 years ago. She was a very proud woman, you see, and she was a hard worker, and she believed in the pride of what you're producing. And she really instilled that in us, I believe. So right now, every year, I look up to the heavens and hope it's going to rain, and I plant. Sometimes I don't get anything. But the next year again, I don't think, I'm thinking this year it's going to be different. Like this year, I believe it's going to be different. So it's in my blood. I mean, I don't know, it's in my blood. Farming is in my blood. I can't imagine not growing something. I can't imagine not working at the farm. I cannot imagine, for me.
I'm asking you these questions just to motivate and inspire other people. That's what we do at Conversations with LJ. I remember you used to be a shareholder, Go Baobab. And I think it was in the public space.
Yes, that's correct.
You raked in millions from selling your shares. You have the Dow Academy, Komuchud. You are heavily invested, you are a judge, you are a member of parliament. I would say you've got enough money to survive. I won't say you've got lots of money because I don't know your bank account. You've got enough, you can survive. Why are you stressing yourself with farming? I'm asking you this question because I want to motivate people.
It is not stress at all.
Yeah.
I mean, it is, see.
I mean, you can afford to stay home and earn a good salary from your investments.
Yeah, then I grow fat and, unhappy and, I don't know, probably get addicted to something, maybe Coke or, alcohol, I don't know. And for me, going to the farm, I would like I said, on Sunday, I've got 7 grandchildren, so
Yes.
I took 2 of them, for example, up to the farm because I want them to have a connection with the earth. I want them to appreciate how food is grown. So they have to pick their own. I have a bit of green peppers right now, some butternut, some onion, some nyebu, for example. But I also grow maize and beans, and mche, for example. So, but I want them to feed the goat. I mean, the chickens, the goats, and the. But I just said, but I said, go and feed the chickens. So they must realize how life is connected. So they're very proud because they really think I fed the chickens. That's going to stay with them because it's anything positive, strengthens a child and grows a child. You see, so for me, it strengthens me to go to the farm.
So when you talk about farming, what advice would you give to especially young women in our society?
Okay, first of all, I must appreciate that our farms are far away from villages.
Yes.
So if you're a young mother with young children, it's so silly for me to say you can farm and still raise children. So obviously we need a different way of connecting to be able to grow your own food in the village. I don't know if you've heard about what I was really arguing in Parliament. I really am arguing for neighborhood boreholes in villages. There's absolutely no reason why there's no borehole in Komosanteng that people can use just to water their own backyard gardens. You understand? So that old woman who's too old now to go to the farm to go to
Mudurotlo. Yes.
There's no reason why. We have piped water. Water utilities will still have their water. We'll still have safe water. But let's actually bring life into our villages. By the water is there underground. It's not going anywhere. You say it's polluted. That's fine. If it's polluted, we will not drink it. But let's raise it and make sure that we can grow our own farm, our own dihotlo. We can make sure that orange tree, you're not worried to water it because how are you going to pay to water utilities, money to take water. So for me, I really think we should, especially now that the economy is so bad.
Yes.
We should actually bring water to people in villages.
Yes.
But otherwise, for young people as well. I do appreciate right now it's very difficult to get SIMO because land boards, but look, does your grandmother have a farm? Does your grandfather have a farm? Or SIMO? Kind of farm sometimes we think of as a SIMO. That's what are your mother, your father? Right now this is the time to pick up and go and do something there. Pick up and go and do something there because 1 hectare will feed you. 1 hectare, you may not be able to sell anything or sell very little, but that's enough beans for the whole year, enough maize for the whole year, even for your chickens. So I think we really should, come to understand that, you see, a bougainvillea is beautiful, okay, that's fine. But what you grow in the farm will feed you, and it's more important to your life than that bougainvillea that you are watering. So or kanyo or wherever it is,
oh, yes.
And I raise chickens in the farm. I generally do not. Okay, I shouldn't say this. No, I won't say this because it's very good for. It would be very bad for somebody's market. So I won't.
Okay, all right.
I won't comment on that.
No problem.
But for me, the best weekends are when I call ahead of time and say, Obi, ntlhabela kgogo wa apea bogobe ke. I go to where I grow, Masimo and Maraka are very close to each other.
Oh, yes.
So I go to Masimo Pele to see.
So you're also into cattle farming. You just mentioned the
but not. I'm not like a big. I'm not. Yes, that's exactly. Where I make sure, like a December, you slaughter a cow for your children. So that they can have meat for the next 6 months or 8 months. So enough when there's a funeral, you can donate. When there's a wedding, you can make sure and occasionally you can sell something, but it's not a big scale.
Okay.
But I'm still very happy about.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Unity Dao, the writer. You're also a writer. How did you become a writer? You write a lot of judgments, I know. You write already affidavit, respond answering affidavits and everything. Hey. And what kind of writing are you?
Okay, I'm a fiction writer.
Yes.
Okay, published. My first book was published in Australia, but since then in the US and in the US, been translated to in Japan and China as well. And my books have been translated to, I think, more than 10 languages, to French, to
Wow.
Spanish, to German, to Dutch, for example, of course, Chinese, and Japanese. So why did I write? I think there was a time when my head was full of stories, just full of stories, which they're spilling out, and I see a story in everything. I could write a book about today, or my morning this morning. So I'm very interested in people, how people, interact, how people speak, how people are rude or not rude or polite. So, and for me, it's, I see characters in a book in everything, in everyday life. So I enjoy that. But also I love actually legal writing. I love affidavits. Because it's a telling story as well. And I just love to put together that story. I don't have much time to do that much, but I still, yeah.
But talking about fictional writing, what does it take to write a book? People think it takes years and everything. Do you type? Do you write? What does it take?
Okay, different people write differently. I always say that, a reasonably long book is no more than 365 pages. And there are 365 days in a year. So even you can actually write a book in a year, if you are a slow writer, whatever.
And you can actually read one book in 1 day if you're a slow reader again.
Yes.
Oh,
so, you see, so how do I write? Okay, I write fast. I don't take a year to write a book.
Yes.
And I hardly get edited, seriously. Because I think also I have a very good memory. You see, the thing about writing also is that there cannot be contradictions in your own book.
Yes.
Susan cannot suddenly, when they were laughing, they were happy, whatever, become suddenly a dull and unhappy person in your book. So your characters have to be real in your head. So once you know who your characters are, so you and often when I start a book, I'm not kidding, I don't know how it's going to end. I don't know how it's going to end. Because I don't know what my characters are going to do. I have no idea.
So you develop these characters as you go on writing?
Yes, that's how I write. I don't like some people have a beginning, there's going to be a peak and then whatever. If you read my book, the Screaming of the Innocent, is totally atypical.
What is it about?
The Screaming of the Innocent is really about ritual murder, but people will say it's not a whodunit, because you know who did it the first page, okay, the first paragraph or the first chapter for sure. So you cannot say, it's a suspense because you are wondering who did it. But so the suspense is in other things that are not atypical. So people find it very interesting because it is not. And I always said to people, I'm not exaggerating. If you study, you will not stop reading it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's just the nature of the book is because you start to thinking, then what's new? I already know who did this. I already know who died. What next can I learn, from this, story? And so my books are available on Amazon and also on soft copy, I believe. Or you can order them from the publisher.
So how many books have you written?
Fiction books, I've written 5. I've written 1 non-fiction. Saturdays is for Funerals is not a fiction book. It is stories of people actually living, loving, thriving, not thriving, during the AIDS pandemic. It's real stories of real people. I just changed people's names. So it's one book that I wrote with a professor from Harvard, who I write the story, he writes the science. And right now it's one of the books that's used generally for first year medical students at Harvard.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
Why are we not seeing these in Botswana?
Go kgalebale.
Are you, or maybe you're marketing them kuntle? So look, your book is used at Harvard University. We've got a medical school at UB. Why are we not seeing that? Or maybe I haven't come across it?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, people, students at UB will say they read my books in literature, people who are doing some of the subjects. But generally, I think we don't read anymore. I mean, people don't read anymore. People don't have time to read anymore. People are always on their phones. So
On social media.
On social media, and also, media comes also on screens. So information, so that's, that's yeah.
Of all the books you've written, which one would you say is your best and why?
I would say The Screaming of the Innocent is my best. It's a dark book. It's a very dark book. And then, but I will also say The Juggling Truths, is my favorite, because in there, as much as fiction, it actually, I tried to thread in there my life in Muchudi. I guess all of them, the books really are. You cannot write a book without having lived. So, because life influences how you write and what you write. So, but Juggling Truth, because it really, I think, especially for young people today, it will be very important. It's a good message about the fact that appreciating that if you're an African child, you are constantly juggling truths. The truth of your parents and the truth of the foreign, influences, and constantly asking yourself, what is beauty? Constantly asking yourself, I mean, you go to Muchudi and people are really so happy that you've gained weight. Okay, you go to town, people are so, tell you how you are fat. So those are truths that young people have to juggle all the time. So which person am I? Am I the global girl who's supposed to starve themselves to death? Or am I the village girl who's supposed to look healthy and round? Your parents may be married to, you may be, if you come from Bukalaka, for example, you may actually come from a family where there's 2 wives. You see, constantly, but the world doesn't expect that. So you're always constantly juggling the truth of who you really are, and what family is, and the truth of what you read in books, what family is. So, and finding yourself in this, you're always contorting yourself in it. My grandmother, for example, when we were young, would tell us, what she used to tell us? She used to tell us that she was a beautiful woman. Not about it. No, I was a beautiful, beautiful woman. Was telling us. You understand?
Yeah.
That was beauty then.
Yes.
You see, and so, but now, if a young woman went around, that's not beauty. They're supposed to wear
Brazilian weeds.
So that now, so we're always shaping ourselves into truths.
Yes.
I want to be like a Brazilian because Brazil seems to be very beautiful. So are you denying who you? So there's this constant juggling truths of the African child.
That's very interesting. And talking about that, there's another character of you, engagement. You are now a podcaster again.
Well, yes.
Let's talk about that.
A few years ago, a professor friend of mine, somebody I've known for more than 30 years, a lawyer, suggested that maybe I write an autobiography. And I was kind of reluctant about that. But then I thought, okay, maybe instead of writing something, maybe you can put your life out there, in podcasts. So that's why I did that series of 11 podcasts. I'm going to shoot another, 11 this year. But basically, it's really slices of my life.
Yes.
Yes.
And I found it very interesting. I actually follow it, and I find it.
Okay.
At first, I was worried. Is she not getting into our space? Is she not? Am I not going to find talking about things that I would want to talk to her about? I mean, on conversations with LJ, but that's not a problem. And then we have this thing called tribesman, tribeswoman. I don't know what's the political correct way to say. You are this modern woman, you are a lawyer, human rights activist, you are a farmer, you are busy, and you are what is it that prompted you to Because I know we
Yes, I mean,
Yeah.
yes. I believe that it's important to know where you come from, to know who you are before you can engage with the world. And I really think one of the biggest failures of Africans is really uniting around their own ancestry. You see, the Jews are not confused about who they are.
Definitely.
They are not confused about who they are. You know, and they have a special, if you, you know, they even have a special term, or how somebody to become, you are anti-Semitic.
Yes.
I get it.
To make you feel really bad.
I get it. So they are very clear who they are, but Africans are not. You see, and you can't engage the world if you don't know who you are. You can't. There's a lot of strength in that. You're engaging half apologetic. You see, half hoping to be like the other person. So for me, Patong was a self-anchoring, a self-strengthening, a self-recognition. You see, because I grew up in a family of a very proud mother. I don't know if I talked about it last time, a little bit, you know, and I grew up, I get,
yes.
Because of, you know, yes. So, because everybody comes from somewhere else, because Botswana was made up of movements of people, so, and she was proud of that. She did not speak Segala, but she still, so I grew up knowing what it's very important to say who you are. You know, and so this constant self-recognition made me want me to strengthen myself also. Yeah. And my younger sister, yes. So now the first time I was at school, I was in Swaziland, so then, and she was in UB, so she was able to go. So Ronabu had gone to school. So when and then it stopped. So when it restarted, I decided I'm going to go there, because I believe that, you know, you need to know who you are. Now my great grandfather was a and
what is it that you learned from the initiation from Bujali?
I learned but I think one of the lessons is really patience, you know, and I'm listening to myself. I'm listening to my senses.
Yes.
Because those people will tell you we can't talk to anybody. So really, that whole, you know, exactly. You have to graduate from one, you know, level to another, so that so I really enjoyed that, and I enjoyed the power of the old music that is sung there. There's something about it that just unites you. That, you know, I kind of sometimes we start maybe at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and maybe Paigela. And then you think, I'm not coming, I'm tired. No, got 3 o'clock, one hour later, well, there's something uniting and something very positive about that.
Yeah. And talking about that, you are unity, Dao, you're an independent woman, you are a public figure in the society. But all of a sudden, for the duration of this initiation school, you become a child, you become a little girl. How do you manage to transition from being even the very same old women, whenever they respect you, they hold you in high regard. But all of a sudden, things have to change. How do you manage that transition?
I've never had a problem with my position in life. I always tell people, I would never fight with Muruti for the podium. So when I'm in a community, I know my space.
Oh, yes.
When I'm at home, I'm the third born, which is my older sister is the boss. It's got nothing to do with me being a judge, being whatever. That is irrelevant, because that space is not about my profession. It's about the community that we here is a family. My sister is the boss. Number 3 mo dibosong. We're very clear. So, and I've never been confused about that. If I go to a wedding, I don't have a role to play.
Yes.
Because I'm not, so every community has its own leadership structure. And if you're not part of the leaders, you must accept that. So I had no problem, with, being,
Oh yes, and you might be wondering why I'm asking you some of these questions, Madam. Are they part of what you want to say? They are really, because what I believe, I have a strong belief that society consumes a lot of negativity, and stories like this that you share, they're very positive, and I believe somebody out there is listening, is watching, they learn from this, and many will become better people from the lessons that they learn from you. Now, before we go to your time, the judgeship as a judge, I want us to look at what is happening. You are a human rights activist. You fight for the rights of women. This idea just came into my mind, and I just want us to discuss it. I'm sorry it was not part of our prep. Gender-based violence. What is going on? During the Motherhood era, during that time when we were very active fighting for the rights of and protection of women, and now, what is the difference? And where have we gone wrong, or where have we improved? I think it's a very important subject to touch on.
It's a very tough one. It's a very, very tough one. And I think things are worse now than they were during that time when I was working with Motherhood, when there were a lot of organizations that were dealing with these issues. Or like war is still there, Women Against Rape is still there. But there were other organizations as well that over time, they lost money, they're not as strong. But, those organizations should really be dealing with few cases. It shouldn't be, there shouldn't be a pandemic in culture of. So, what do I think has gone wrong? What do I think has gone wrong? I really think that there is a great conflict, between men and women. What is a man? What are the attributes of a good man in the society right now? The attributes of a good man 100 years ago was something else. Okay, the man provided. What did they provide? They actually went out to chop wood. They actually went out to, the roles were very clear. What men did, what women did. But right now things are so fused, and there's a conflict that needs reconciling. There is a crisis of maleness or malehood, whatever. I don't know what to call it. So. Women still take care of babies, so that space is safe. They still, fix the home. They still clean the home. They still cook. Their sphere is not tainted by anybody else. But they're going out now to join men as well, to earn, the bread that is going to be consumed at home, whatever. So, and men don't know how to deal with men in their space. So I think we need a longer discussion about this. But I think at the end of that, there's a crisis. There's a crisis of identity, there's a crisis of self-dignity, there's a crisis of self-confidence, there's a crisis. And it's because roles have changed without men being strengthened to accept the change. I say this, I don't know if I said it in the last podcast, you see, the average, in the average home, okay, the woman still cooks, okay, even if she's working, the man is cooking. She still makes the bed, she still cleans, whatever. If she's working, she may hire another woman, because being a wife is a full-time job. You may have to get another wife, a woman basically to help you with some of the wifely duties, that is cooking, whatever, okay? And they actually create a nest, okay? The woman decides the color of the carpet, the color of the bed, everything, and the man doesn't really have a role in that. So she's trying to fit themselves into, they're watching their soaps, there's no room. I'm talking to women here. I'm saying, make your home also a space where men feel like they are full participants. Take him to go and choose the couch. Take him, automatically, because we don't even engage you, general. But on the other hand, out there is tough. So people come outside, they go to the workplace, it's tough there, there's not enough money. When they come back, they get angry at this happy or at this space where they don't particularly fit. I don't know if I'm explaining.
Yeah, I understand.
So we need, and before, who would intervene before when there are problems? It would be the uncle, it would be the aunts. They're not there anymore. So there's no longer even a valve, there's no longer a network of people to say, look, my relationship is in danger.
Are they not there anymore, Madeo? Or we have now turned social media, especially Facebook, into being the uncles and rakgadi? I see lots of stories that sadden me. Motho, nthuse mbagaetsho, monna o tshotse ngwana ko, nthuse monna o. And I always ask myself, does this person not have siblings? Don't they have borakgadi, bo malome? Why are they bringing their issue to social media?
I mean, first of all, they don't anymore. I mean, they are there in name only. You know, many people, the first time they see their malume really is and that's last time. You see, there's no longer that connection. I guess there's no longer, Christmas, but for example, I was saying to my children, I want each one of you to send 200 pula to Maluma. It's not because he needs the 200 pula, but to remind you, true. So basically, how to toilet tipper. We say, it's a connection. He may have 1,000 knives. That's not the issue. The issue is this gesture of the same way that you actually buy somebody a present like Christmas or like birthday. I saw that. But it's a gesture, I recognize you.
Yes.
So basically, but that's not happening anymore because we live really individualized life. So gender-based violence is a sign of, it's sort of strife in the community. You see, if you remember, we had there was a rise of what we call passion killings around HIV/AIDS.
Yes.
Do you remember that?
Yes, I do. Ramogai was against that terminology.
Yes, because it was just no. But why? What was the reason? If you look at the context, people were dying. There was angst in the community, in the world. There was so much death and desperation. And then when people are desperate, they turn against people closest to them. It's unlikely that they're going to go and kill somebody who has something to say. And then the economy improved. Right now, we are in the middle of an economic crisis. We are in the middle of an economic crisis. The number of times that people send me, so when people are in this stressful situation, okay, I'm not excusing them, but I'm telling you the context. I'm not saying what rich people or happy people in New York don't beat their wives, but that wife has got an option, they can walk away. I'm saying, or that man, so there'll always be killers. But when you see a rise, where we're supposed to be number one in the world in terms of rapes, you can tell what there's an anger amongst us. Why are we, or desperation amongst us? So, and what changes culture? Speaking. Leadership must talk about this. Leadership must counsel people. Leadership, you understand? So this conversation we are having is trying to say, let's try to understand why that young boy who was used to be so sweet, again, so now, he's
suddenly turns into a monster.
Yes.
And talking about leadership, I'm glad you put some sort of responsibility on the leadership. What are you doing as the leadership? I'm not asking about you as an individual, but I'm asking about as the legislators. What is it? Do you think you are doing enough as Parliament to address this issue, or as the system in general?
Yes, I don't think we are doing enough. I would agree with you. And also, what can be done?
Yes.
Okay, I think that's the question is, what can be? First of all, we need to recognize the problem. To say, I know some people are saying you have to declare GBV an emergency. That is true. What does it mean to declare? What would be the consequences of that? The consequence of that would be put more money, support organizations that actually deal with these things. For Emma Mbasadi, Bobu Congo, So basically, stepping stones. Actually, if you then you identify the people who are actually dealing with these issues on a day-to-day basis, and you strengthen them by giving them the resources to actually deal with them.
Yes.
The other thing, of course, is just jobs. I can tell you that if we were to turn this economy, if this goes down, even worse, we know in other countries that's what's happening. This is going to get worse. So we need somehow to deal with the big issues are the economy. Those are the hard parts, but still at a personal level, my horsey loan. We need for the country to recognize this, and we also need, like I say, the uncle is not there anymore. So we need social workers. We need actually a network of social workers where people can actually feel safe enough to go and talk about these things before they erupt.
Yes.
I don't know, maybe,
Yes.
I don't know.
Yes, thank you so much. Let's leave it there. I hope you'll continue in Parliament. You were a judge. Before you were a judge, you were in private practice as an
That's
attorney.
correct.
How did you become a judge?
Okay. How old was I? 38, 39.
Is that so?
Yeah, I was one of the youngest judges. I was the youngest judge when I was appointed.
All right, that's interesting.
Yeah, and I think the one closest to me in age was Dibotalo, who was 10 years older than I was. So, and
The former Chief Justice.
the former Chief Justice, a wonderful, wonderful man, by the way.
Okay.
I have to say that because I learned a lot from him.
Oh, yes.
One of the most honest people I know. And so that was Judge Dibotalo. And so how did I become? I was at Mikaitsil actually at the time.
Yes.
I was actually, I told you that occasionally we look into the past.
Yes.
Only 2 days ago, my sister shared the picture of when I was up, when they went to Lobaze before I was sworn in to go and see my office, and so there was a photograph taken. So it's interesting that only 2 years ago I was thinking about that particular day.
Yeah.
And so how did I become a judge? It was before now I think, I don't know the advertise, but now.
Yeah, now they advertise again.
But then.
And then we apply to the
Yes.
JSC. Yes.
But there you were headhunted at the time.
Oh, yes.
There was a headhunting system where the Chief Justice would place your name. First of all, the President would indicate that, so the President and the Chief Justice would speak about the potential candidates. And then the candidate would be identified, the name submitted to JSC, and then JSC, if JSC accepts it, will recommend it to the Chief Justice and back to the President. So basically, it was like the British system was the same at the time. So I got a call from Justice Nganonu, who was then the Chief Justice.
Chief Justice at the time,
yes.
Yeah.
Saying, look, if you were, if the President were agree that if you, would accept your appointment, would you take the position? I was surprised. I was 38 years old, or maybe 39. I think 38.
But you are definitely not 40.
No, I was not 40 for sure.
Oh, yes.
And it was towards the end of the year, because I remember I started in January of the following year, of 1998. Come on, I can't remember. Yeah. So, and I was very surprised, because at the time I was working in Mikaitsil, I had no indication that anybody was seeing me as a potential judge. It was
most of that you were troubling government then, I'd say.
So I had, survived the Dow case, which was a 5-year journey. I had been to Beijing and back. I had co-founded Mikaitsil, co-founded Women Against Rape, co-founded, Emma Masadi, co-founded Women Law in Southern Africa. And so I was in that space at the time. And then I have to say at the time, I'd been working at Mikaitsil for about 5 years, more than 5 years. And I was exhausted. I was tired. The stories of all these women and their problems, I just needed a break. So in a way, it was a godsend,
Yeah.
But at first I said, okay, I will.
Yeah. Earlier on I said you were fighting, you were causing trouble to government, of course. Definitely, your case, maintenance, citizenship and all that, you were a headache to government. And all of a sudden, you are being approached to your opponent. Didn't part of you say they're trying to silence you?
I understood that there was a possibility, and that, yes, you get silenced, but I also understood that if you keep on saying there are no women in leadership, you can't say, I won't go into leadership because I'll be silenced.
Okay.
So, yeah. I remember...
On the flip side of it, did you see it, like one would see it as an opportunity to correct the wrongs that are there in the system?
Yes, you don't know, whether you get the chance to correct, because at the end of the day, you don't know what kind of case will come before you, but you know what vision you are taking to the bench. I remember that when I first got there, I don't know if we discussed this last time, but my first day of work, okay, I was driving. And
I was going to get there, but let's go ahead. Yes,
okay.
Yes.
No. My first day of work is I was driving my Land Rover. I've always liked Land Rovers because I used to camp a lot. And I was young and, brusque and, So a Land Rover was the car that was driving at the time. And everybody's driving all these expensive cars. But now I come from the village because that's where Metlaisile was. And I didn't even know where judges were parking. I didn't know there was a special parking space for judges. So I parked my car. So no, okay. And then suddenly people are saluting me, So it was an interesting first day. And I go into this office. The chair is too high because the last judge, the last person to use the chair was a very tall man, and I'm this. So I said, I'm fiddling with the door, with the chair.
With the handle adjuster.
And then someone said, "Oh, is there something, wrong with the chair judge?" I said, "No, I don't think And then immediately, I'm shown a calendar so I can choose a new chair. So in minutes, I guess they were saving them somewhere. This chair is whisked out, a new chair. So I'm like, really, oh my God, this is the life. After working with Metlaisile, where the toilet half the time didn't work.
Yeah.
So it was an interesting transition.
Oh yeah. You're talking about the vision that you brought into the judgeship. What was your vision? What is it the vision that you brought into the judgeship?
Okay, but first of all, it's not to make assumptions, about men and women. People assume that if you are women's human rights activist or human rights lawyer, or if you believe in gender equality, you are against men. No, not at all. I love men. I think they're beautiful creatures. Well, they can be beautiful creatures. I also know they're bad women. But I don't really think that you should be judged because of your maleness or your femaleness. So I brought to the court, people were surprised because I'm sure I'm one of the first people to actually would award custody of children to men, because every case is different. In this particular, couple, the good parent, the hands-on parent may well actually be a man. So people many older judges, so not all, I just assumed that if there's a maintenance case, or a custody case, the woman must get the children. And I said, no, the children should have as little disruption as possible. Who was bathing them? Who was taking them to church? Who was doing homework with them? Who was the primary caregiver to these children, so that when you decide whether it's him or her, the children have as little disruption as possible. Then that's what really I would give the custody to. So I didn't assume that women were better mothers. You can say generally they are, but I don't know about this particular couple. And therefore I had to examine this particular couple and say who is going to get the children. Yeah. There were other things that I think I did that were unique. For example, most judges would say, okay, there's divorce, yes. There's custody of, there's division of property, yeah, you take, 3, whatever, you divide it, and then there's custody, and then you give them maybe to her, and then you say maintenance, okay? You've already divided the property that these people have, and therefore, so for me, I'll give you an example of a case I did. This old man came, and this old man, I don't know, this man came, and they had only one little house in some village. They were getting divorced from his wife. Okay? Only one house. Yeah, so usually, the woman was just totally, a bad mother. So I gave custody of the children to him, this man from a village. Okay, then custody to him. The second one is now division of the property. Theoretically, you're supposed to now sell, because there's only one house, sell it and give them half-half, and then. So I said, no, okay, we're not going to do this. I'm giving you half the property, you the man, okay, of this house. You have to maintain these children until they're 18. Since you are not working, your contribution is your half interest in the estate. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
So I'm just saying that right now you are making a down payment on maintenance by your half share in this house. So that now you can stay wherever you be, but you're not taking this house because you are donating it to the children as maintenance. So that way the man can still be there with the children. There's no disruption. You see, but most judges, they still do today, would say, okay, divide the property, you sell the house, and then it's not going to work. So you're always thinking about the consequences of any decision that you make. You must think about how will it affect these 5 people who are in front of me, the husband, the wife, and the children. So you cannot say the law says, okay, you understand? So I don't think many judges were thinking like that. I don't think they still think like that, to tell you the truth.
What are the pitfalls that one must avoid as a judge?
Okay, what are the pitfalls? Is I guess, you look at the world through your own eyes. I'll give you a very simple example. There used to be a judge called Abuaje, okay, and we believed the same thing, okay, that the natural inclination of a new mother is to protect a baby they've just had given birth to, okay?
Yeah.
We both believed that. We then separated. And because that's natural inclination of a mother, okay, when a woman dumps that baby or kills that baby, my question is why? And therefore, I'm more inclined to say something must have happened that will cause this person to have carried a baby to term and then, try to kill it or dump it. And therefore, I want to know more because I really think that it's not just her who's to blame, okay? But he would say, because, the natural inclination is to protect the baby, this must be a particularly evil woman, and therefore I'm sending her to prison for the longest time. You understand?
Yes.
So at the end of the day, we are both bringing our own perspective into this judging equation. He's saying she must be evil. That's why she must go to jail for a long time. I'm saying something must be happen. This is not normal. Where's the father of this child?
And that's the beauty of law.
You see? Yeah. So at the end of the day, I would come up with a sentence that, does she have any other children? Will they be affected by sending her to jail? Maybe she killed a newborn, but she got a 2-year-old. So if I send her to jail for 10 years, I'm also destroying. So I would look at a sentence that accommodates, her life sentence circumstance so that nobody else suffers in her own. So that's what. Yeah. So that's a different, way of looking at it.
Okay. Talking about sentence, is there any sentence that you passed that still haunts you up to date, or any judgment that you made that still haunts you up to date? Looking back and say, I did everything right, but what if I was wrong? Is there any?
I don't think so. Is there any judgment? I mean, there might be. Interesting. I was just thinking about this tweet about last week. I don't like embarrassing people, or putting, or just really, like you see, like showing you out so that you get embarrassed in people, for no reason at all. And something that there's a judgment that one of my early judgments that sometimes makes me cringe. I was right, but I still remember the face of that young lawyer. He had made a terrible mistake in his papers. So there's absolutely no way he was going to get his judgment because there was no way he was going to get he made it, it was something that could not be rectified. But I always think, well, maybe I could have communicated that in my judgments in a nicer way. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I could have, I felt bad afterwards because I felt I had embarrassed him unnecessarily, that I didn't go to that level. I mean, but I was trying to explain why.
Yes.
Yeah. So sometimes that bothers me a little bit.
Yeah. Talking about judgment, I'll talk about one case, and he'll pardon me. He's a good friend. He's a very nice brother.
Okay.
But it's something that is in the public domain. The Bisau Hawaku case.
Okay.
And that's what I'm saying. Bisau, he's a good brother. We are in good terms. It's nothing personal. I think the feeling was you were very lenient. And earlier on, I asked you, are there any pitfalls that judges would fall in? Are there any influences that judges find themselves facing? What is your take on that? Do you think you were lenient on him because of who he was or who he is?
I honestly do not remember the judgment, the actual sentence. I hardly ever remember that.
I'm not sure if it was 1.5 years or something.
In jail, maybe.
Yeah, but I remember you saying, I still remember those words vividly.
Let me try to, I know you tried to tease that earlier on about remembering.
Yeah.
I remember, what is the context? You see, two, probably, I'm sorry to say, kind of drunkish young men.
Yes.
Then, yeah.
Yes.
And a drunkish atmosphere. I think it was a party. I can't remember the details.
Yes.
And I remember, die, nigger, die. You remember that?
Let the nigger die.
Or
Yes.
let the
nigger die.
I mean, what kind of language is that? I mean, you can see is boys being more, being reckless.
Yes.
In a sense, so boys being reckless, and I think they were friends as well.
Yes.
So what goes?
And they still are friends.
Okay, what goes into sentencing? Sentencing is influenced by many things. The environment of the crime. Was it, what was the nature of the malice? You see, was it motive? Was it what do you call it? What is it? Was it a
premeditated?
Premeditated, for example, you know, or was it a spur of the moment? What happened afterwards? Did these people remain friends? Did they forgive each other? What did the parents do? So, because at the end of the day, all those things feature in sentencing. It's the response of the offender to the crime, the response of the victim to the crime, and anybody around them, you know, at the end of the day. So I think at the time, probably manslaughter would have been 3 years, maybe half suspended or all suspended, and then you serve, you know, and so I don't know. I've never felt that I've been beaten. So at all.
All right.
So at all.
Okay, we'll leave it there.
Yeah.
Then talking about the your judgments, is there any particular judgment that you still hold, that you still remember so vividly, that you look back and say, I made a change with this. This was a landmark judgment.
Yeah, I would say certainly the CKGR judgment comes to mind.
Yes.
You know, I believe that it was a judgment that was more than just a comment on the law. It was also a comment on historical context. I think so. I think I'm very happy about that judgment. There are also decisions that I made which when you probably won't go back and see them in a judgment that I believe that I am proud of. One relates to, again, you may think, oh, she was being lenient. It relates to a young boy who came from Old Naledi, and it was particularly difficult, you know, always in brawls and fights, and then he actually, I think he injured somebody, even injured their eye very, very badly. Young boy who everybody thought you must throw him in jail and throw away the keys. So, and he was convicted of causing grievous bodily harm. He's supposed to go to jail. So, but I decided, you know, this boy is going to be my friend for the next year. There's a law, that says, you know, you can actually suspend sentence, you know, and watch the, you know, basically behavior of the convict before. So I said, okay.
So you could suspend the sentence, watch the behavior, and then probably revisit the sentence.
Yeah, so not even send to jail. Instead of convict them and then suspend sentencing. Not suspend the sentence, suspend the sentence.
Oh, okay, no, I get it. Saying like it's January, you'd say, I suspend the sentence until.
I'll see you in a month's time.
Oh, yes.
So
yes.
I read to him, you know, and said, look, this is potentially, wait, how many years? You're going to go to jail for how many years? But I'm not sentencing you today. I want to see you next month in my court. You know, in the meantime, you are going to go to the local clinic. You are going to clean it, okay? You are going to make yourself useful. You are going to listen to your grandmother. His mother had passed away, you know, at the time. You are going to listen to your grandmother, and she's going to tell me next time, you know, whether you've been good. And if you've been good, you know, then that will influence your sentence. The next month, when he came, he had been very good. I said, okay, I'm going to see you next month. So I really did this until, so he was always looking forward now to see me. Because we became like, in a way, friends, because he wanted to show me that he's a good boy. He's not fighting anymore. So, and we did this until after 6 months, I think it was 6 months, not, you know, I can't remember, maybe 6 months. But we just kept on doing this. Say, look, if you have good behavior, then, you know, and you have to go to school as well. And I want to make sure, you know, so I gave him tasks to do before I sentenced him. And I never had to send him to jail. I never had to send him to jail. But ordinarily, he would have gone to jail for that kind of, you know, behavior. But I was able to.
And it's a risk that you are taking.
Yes.
In a way.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. That's very interesting. And then before we conclude on your tenure as a judge, there's this thing about, let's say, position of judges when it comes to death penalty. I hear that there are judges that are pro-death penalty, and there are those that are against death penalty. And those that are against death penalty, when they see that a befitting sentence is death, they would actually ask the lawyer to look for extenuating circumstances, just so that they give this person just the custodial sentence. Is that how justice works?
I don't think so. I really don't think so.
I mean, if it's true, is that how justice should work?
No, I don't think so. I don't think that it works like that. First of all, yes, there are people in life who are for the death penalty. There are people in life who are against the death penalty, period, okay? Yes. But once you're a judge...
And I won't ask for your position, don't worry.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
But once you're a judge, you judge the case before you. You really judge the case before you. And maybe some judges are just lucky they never get... Because the death penalty in our system, okay? You can go to a custodial sentence if there are extenuating circumstances or mitigating circumstances. So what are mitigating circumstances? For example, for example, a judge may, if somebody just cruel murder, where the man comes or the woman comes, kills the man, rapes the child, whatever. So it's so horrible that. What can be extenuated? What can be mitigated there? It doesn't matter whether you believe in the death sentence or not. You're going to hand down the sentence. As Dibotelo used to say, he says, when you hand down the death sentence, you feel like sweat pouring down your body because you just made a decision about
someone's life.
Yes. So, but you still have to do it. So, because that's what the law says. But I would say probably 95% of murder cases actually come with mitigating circumstances or extenuating circumstances in this context. Just because, it could be, yes, he killed her or she killed him, but they fought yesterday. So there are other reasons. It's not it was a build-up maybe that erupted. It doesn't mean it's not murder. But you may look at that then, because if everybody gets the death sentence in homicides, then, there's no gradation of seriousness anyway. So, but I don't think, I think every judge hopes they don't get a death penalty case because it's a lot of responsibility.
Well, yes.
But I don't think judges sit there thinking, oh, go and look, because they can see, you don't have to look them, during the case when the evidence is being led.
Yes.
Evidence will be led. It will be very clear whether or not this is a death penalty case or whether or not this is a case of where... I think one of the talking about this, I think the big problem or just the issue that I really think we should look into are two things. First of all, when somebody doesn't get the death penalty, the tendency in this country is I think the custodial sentences are too low. Because we are a small community, if you give somebody 15 years for murder, it means that I'm going to meet this person in my lifetime.
Yes.
You see, but if it was in New York, you never see them because the place is so big. And in any event, you're not going to, sentences generally in UK.
Yeah, we hear about 263 years.
So basically, I think that for us, there's too much of a divide. Death or very, short sentences.
Okay.
I really think we should think about our sentencing guidelines so that there should be some kind of minimum, so that you don't meet the murderer of your daughter at a funeral, in 10 years' time, because if it's 15 years, it really means 10. Okay. The other thing I think about people, why people are so angry with the death, why people support the death penalty so passionately, is because there's no justice for victims. You understand? So when we talk about justice in a homicide, we only focus on the justice for whether the punishment for the offender, but nobody talks about the victim's rights. Yeah. A compensation for that child who was left without a mother or without a father. So you understand? So there's no focus at all on the justice for the victims of crime. So there's no balance.
I get it. I think judges retire at what age? Is it 70?
I think 70, but with a chance of going...
Yes, there's a retirement age for judges.
Yeah.
And upon retirement, they earn a salary for life. Am I right? They earn a pension that is... equivalent to some percentage of the sitting judge's salary.
Yes, they have a pension, but it's dependent on...
Yes, and the reason why I'm getting to this is because you resigned as a judge. You had an opportunity of serving out your term and then retiring and then just ending a good life. But I understand you retired out of principle. Why did you resigned out of principle? Actually in protest. And you actually mentioned in your podcast that you were not happy with somebody who was appointed a judge. You are of the view that I can't sit on the same bench with this person. Are you free to share that?
Okay, well, two things first of all. First of all, after 10 years of service, you still get a percentage. So I'm on a limited pension.
Oh, yes.
For my service of 10 years.
Okay.
I served for 11.
Okay.
So mine is limited. Of course, if I'd actually stayed on, I think another even 5 years, I would have been, even better position.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
And remember, at Conversations with LJ, we don't mention names when it's negative. Not that we are negative.
All right. Okay. So obviously, if you are going to resign, there must be negativity somewhere.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yes, I remember the then Chief Justice was in Ganunu, and he used to, I think value my input. So he calls me into his office. I think he regretted calling me. I said, look, we have this idea of, appointing so as a judge. And I said, Chief Justice, if you do that, I'm going to quit. I'm not sharing tea. Every Fridays we had tea together as judges. I'm not sharing tea, a table, with that man. You and I know that he is a rapist. We know that he harasses because before he was being appointed as a judge, but obviously he already had a position within the justice system. I won't say where.
Yes.
And he had been doing this for years. Everybody knew. I mean, when I was a young lawyer, he raped a 14-year-old of the daughter of his girlfriend. Okay, I mean, when I was a judge, he raped another 14-year-old daughter of his maid. Okay, said to the maid, he came from Mulepolole, I was ill, and then she says, oh, why don't you leave the child who was I think 13 or 14, because Naira's than 7, so it can be, do some work in the house. And then he raped everybody knew this. And I said, look, I cannot do this. So if you decide to do it, I'm quitting. I guess he thought I was joking. Or he thought, I'm sure, he didn't think I would actually do it.
Yes.
And then I come back. I had gone on a trip. I come back and find that this guy's been appointed a judge. So I went to the Chief Justice and said, sir, how long do you need for me so I can hand over notes? Oh, you were serious? I said, yes, I was serious. I was very serious. There's absolutely no way I'm sharing, this stage with this man. So then I quit.
Let's leave it there.
Yeah.
That's principle. Now we get into the final part of our discussion. Unity Dow, the politician. Mm-hmm. Now, before we get to the politician part, actually, there's another important. I think you were once touted for the judgeship at the International Court of Justice or something.
The ICC.
The ICC, is it true?
That's correct, actually.
Yes.
I was looking through my papers recently and I saw the letter of, it's not an appointment as such. You see, how it happens is that if a country is a member of the signatory to the Rome Statute,
yes.
The Rome Statute is the statute
yes.
that creates the ICC, then of course then they get a chance to nominate their members, their lawyers to
like it's happened with Key right now.
No, there's a different a different court.
That's
Sanji,
ICJ. Sanji, yes.
Sanji became the first and so far the only judge from Botswana to serve on the ICC.
Oh, yes.
The International Criminal Court.
Yes.
That big one that where
yes.
you try all these bad people.
Yes.
Really particularly bad people. So yes, that's true. Yes, I got a letter from, it was then, what was this guy, who was the PS at the time, who later became the High Commissioner to Australia. I remember him in a little while. But anyway, he wrote a letter to
Selepe. Ambassador Selepe,
yes. To say, look, His Excellency the President is proud to nominate you to the to serve on the ICC. Of course, the vote is by the General Assembly. So great. I thought it was really great, but I said, but Rome procedure. That's not how, because I knew the Rome Statute, and it says that the nomination shall be in the same way as judges are appointed in your own country, and I knew that it had to go through the JSC, So I said no, I'm unable to accept it because it's Rome procedure. So
Still on principle again.
Let's start again. You know why I did that? Because I mean, as a lawyer, these are really big cases. I could imagine sitting there and somebody challenging, the procedure by which I got there. In fact, every time I see them sitting, I'm wondering how many countries actually follow their own procedure, because people assume they did. But everybody would have assumed that we had done it. Nobody would have questioned it, if I had not questioned it. So, but I said, no, I could not do it because it had to go through. And I think there was a bit of annoyance at the OP, but she should be, thank you. I said, no, but we cannot do it that way. So let's restart. I said, the proper procedure now is for me maybe to put my CV before the JSC, to ask them to recommend me to the president, or the president, so that there's paperwork. When you open my file, you can say the procedure was followed. I think they got a bit annoyed with me for that. We did go through that, but that time had passed. We didn't meet the deadline that by which we submitted. So the following year, Sanji was appointed, or nominated.
Madi, every time I talk to you, I want to talk about Unity Dawa, the politician.
Okay.
But the issues that you discuss make me want to separate the two issues. Like today, I had wanted us to include Unity Dawa, the politician, as the last bit of this. How about we leave Unity, the politician, for the last episode? Would you grant me that?
Well, don't threaten me this time.
I won't threaten you. I think we should just leave it. I just want people to consume all that we've discussed today. And then we'll find time to talk about Unity Dawa, the politician, because there's a lot to talk about. And once again, Madawa, let me thank you for the lessons that you've shared. You talked about farming. I tell you, we're going to have this conversation with my wife tonight because she's a very passionate farmer. There's a lot of knowledge. There's a lot of skills that you have that you're imparting on people. And there's a lot that people are learning from you. I want to thank you for your contribution to the building of this country. And I encourage you, I'm not being political, but I encourage you to continue playing a part in the betterment of this country. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much for having me, and thank you very much for believing that my story is worth listening to. Thank you.
Yes, to our viewers, you asked, or rather you instructed me to bring Madawa back so that we talk about her life. You made it very clear that her life cannot be discussed in 38 minutes. We've discussed it today in more than 1 hour. And I strongly believe that the story about her political life should be separated from the stories that she shared today. And I promise you, part 3 of the interview with Madawa. Remember, continue subscribing or continue encouraging people to subscribe for this channel, continue sharing and continue watching. And to the corporates, please support us. It's not easy to bring people to the studio. It's not easy to run this establishment without a little bit of income. Till we meet again, take good care of each other and continue serving this country. Thank you.